Hello everybody, welcome back to Access Blockbusters, and welcome to a quick spoiler reaction of Episode 3 of AHSOKA entitled Time to Fly. As always with these spoiler reactions, I'm going to be going through the episode and talking about things I liked and things I didn't like from the recent episodes, so again, this is your full spoiler warning. And before we get into it, if you haven't subscribed to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel, make sure to do so, give this video a like, and let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of AHSOKA Episode 3? Are you enjoying the episodes? Are you enjoying the series thus far? Can't wait to talk about it with you guys in the comments down below. Alright, all that being said, let's get into AHSOKA Episode 3. So here's the thing. This episode in itself, I think, is a mixed bag, just purely by definition, because there are things in it I liked, and there are things in it I didn't like. And a lot of those carry over from the first two episodes, but I think there are a couple things that are becoming clearer and clearer to me, and there are some other things that I'm waiting to see more on. That being said, just before I even get into my individual thoughts, I will say that thus far, even though that this episode was a mixed bag to me, I enjoyed it overall, and I'm enjoying the series overall. Now, as you might have been able to tell, that's not an enthusiastic endorsement of the show, and yeah, I'm not loving AHSOKA thus far, but I will say that it has potential, and I'm encouraged by some things, and I'm also discouraged by others. As far as this particular episode goes, one of the best things about it is that it's continuing a pattern started by the first two episodes, and it's telling one cohesive story. While yes, the beginning of this episode starts out with a training sequence that I feel is a little bit too long, I will say that this entire episode is essential storytelling to the AHSOKA show, and I love that. Those of you who don't know, I'm not a huge fan of Mandalorian, and part of the reason why is because of the very episodic nature of the series. I'm a very story-oriented person, so to see a TV series go from episode to episode and not really focus on the main story until the end, it really does frustrate me. So to see AHSOKA starting out its first three episodes very focused on its story, super encouraging. And it's encouraging because I know Dave Filoni has a tendency to not even do that himself because of Rebels. I mean, Rebels is a very episodic kind of show, and it kind of focuses on the Thrawn story and kind of focuses on Vader and Maul, and then it kind of doesn't sometimes. So really encouraged to see that. Another thing is definitely the directing by Steph Green. All the action in this episode, there's a lot of action in this show for sure. And definitely in this episode, the space fights, the Purrgil, everything about the space battles above the hyperspace ring and the planet, that felt really Star Wars to me, and I just can't commend Steph Green enough for the direction in that. It felt great. I think even just some of the subtle camera angles that they use, like the way that Sabine is targeting the ships and viewing it out of that little turret window, it just felt very New Hope, very original trilogy, if you will. And I thought it felt very Star Wars to me, which was great. I think also Hu Yang is becoming one of the best parts of the show. I mean, come on, Star Wars hits with its droids usually. I mean, his dry sense of humor it fits so well. It's not exactly like K2SO, which I appreciate. Like, they're not trying to make every single droid like K2SO, but it's its own brand of humor. Really appreciate that. Now, getting to the things that I maybe didn't like as much. Here's the thing. I said this in my first episode breakdown or spoiler reaction of episodes 1 and 2 of AHSOKA. I'm not feeling the portrayal of Ahsoka Tano, and to a lesser extent Sabine Wren and maybe Hera Syndulla. I just don't feel like they're authentic versions of the characters. And now I've been hearing a lot of discourse about Ahsoka comparing her to Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, and I'm gonna say right now, as somebody who famously or infamously, depending on who you are, loves The Last Jedi, thinks that what they did with Luke Skywalker is great, I will say that for the time being, at least, I'm willing to concede that the portrayal of Ahsoka doesn't feel authentic, and I understand that this might have been sort of what the feeling was around Luke Skywalker not feeling as authentic as he was in Return of the Jedi. That being said, I think there are a couple key differences as we move forward through the Ahsoka series. One is that this is just the first three episodes, so if they decide to develop the character more into something different, I think that I'm totally willing to buy that. Right now, I think the authenticity also, and I think this is a key difference between Ahsoka and Luke in The Last Jedi, is that the authenticity, or maybe lack thereof, that I'm feeling from Rosario Dawson's performance of Ahsoka is not actually character-based. It's performance-based. Because I think a lot of the complaints about Luke Skywalker as a character in The Last Jedi come from the fact that it just doesn't feel like the same character, while I think a lot of people who hate The Last Jedi still concede that Mark Hamill gave, I think, what the performance was asking for from Rian Johnson. I just feel like Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka feels very stale and one note. So I think that plays a big part in the authenticity, because I think that as a character, you could easily tell me in episodes 4, 5, and 6 that she's, she went through a lot of trauma with Darth Vader, and she went through a lot through the Clone Wars and leaving the Jedi Order, and that's weighing on her. And if you told me that that's what they told Rosario Dawson to play as, I can buy that. I just don't think that Rosario Dawson is maybe portraying it in as interesting of a way as I would have hoped she would. So the character just feels a little one note. I don't quite buy her relationship with Sabine, and they still really haven't given us a lot of backstory. I'm waiting for more backstory, I guess, of her and Sabine and her thoughts on Anakin Skywalker and what's weighing on her. But I'm sure that'll come later. I'm just hoping it doesn't come too late, because right now just kind of feels like a one-note kind of character. That being said, again, still very encouraged to see that this show is going for one continuous arc, hopefully. And I think that despite my misgivings and despite my trepidations about the character of Ahsoka, there's still a lot of potential here. And I'm not just going to write off the show just because of that. So still looking forward to episode 4, still on board with the show. A lot of the sequences, like the training sequence at the beginning of this episode, when Ahsoka's finding that little orb thing at the temple, they just feel really slow. They feel like you could cut out half of the scenes of those sequences. But that being said, those are relatively minor nitpicks. And I think that so far, still on board, still looking forward to the next episode. So what do you guys think of Ahsoka Episode 3? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel for more content, and I will see you guys in the next one.